At our housewarming party, my fiancé announced to the room, "I can't wait until we're married so I can finally kick his mother out. She's so annoying." My mom was standing right there. I replied, "Get out." Then I kicked my fiancé out of my house in front of 40 guests. The next day, she woke up at her parents' house single. Never posted anything like this before, but I need to get it out somewhere. Context first, I guess. I'm 28 meters, been with my fiancée Vanessa, 26F, for about 14 months. Got engaged pretty quick, maybe too quick, looking back. She seemed perfect at first, but whatever, that's not the point right now. 2 months ago, I bought my first house. Nothing fancy, just a 3-bedroom ranch in a decent neighborhood, but it's mine. Saved up for years, working overtime at the plant to make the down payment. Been dreaming of homeownership since I was a kid growing up in apartments. My mom has been staying with me since I bought the house. Her divorce from my stepdad got finalized around the same time, and she needed somewhere to go while she figured out her living situation. I wasn't going to let her end up in some sketchy rental. Mom raised me by herself until I was 12, so helping her out was never even a question. The arrangement was always temporary. Mom's been looking at senior communities and smaller apartments, but good places have waiting lists. She's clean, quiet, helpful around the house, and honestly great company after work. We watch old movies, and she tells stories about when I was little. Vanessa was supportive of the situation at first. She'd been staying over most nights since I got the house and said it was sweet that I cared about my mother. That family should stick together. She seemed to get along fine with Mom at first. No obvious tension or weird vibes that I picked up on. But about 6 weeks ago, things started changing. Vanessa began making little comments about wanting more privacy, how it would be nice to have the house to ourselves sometimes. Hints about Mom maybe finding her own place sooner rather than later. I explained that Mom was actively looking but needed time to find somewhere appropriate, that rushing her out wasn't an option for me. Vanessa said she understood, but kept bringing it up every few weeks, always framed as concern for our relationship and future together. The comments got more frequent after we set a wedding date for next fall. Vanessa started talking about redecorating and making changes to the house. How we'd need the spare bedroom for guests when people visited for the wedding. Stuff that obviously implied Mom wouldn't be living there much longer. I told her we'd cross that bridge when we came to it. That Mom would find a place when she was ready and not before. Vanessa smiled and nodded, but I could tell she was getting impatient. The whole conversation felt like she was trying to manage me into kicking my own mother out. 2 weeks ago, we decided to throw a housewarming party. I'd been putting it off because of Mom's situation, but Vanessa really wanted to show off the place to her friends. She'd been planning it for weeks, talking about decorations and catering and guest lists. We invited about 40 people total. My work buddies, some neighbors, my uncle and aunt, Vanessa's college friends, her coworkers, and both our parents. Pretty standard party crowd, nothing too crazy. Just wanted everyone to see the house and have a good time. Mom offered to help with food prep and setup. She's an amazing cook and insisted on making her famous appetizers that everyone always raves about. Vanessa wasn't thrilled about Mom being so involved in hosting duties, but didn't say anything directly. The morning of the party, Mom was up early getting everything ready. Kitchen smelled incredible, and she had this whole spread of homemade food laid out perfectly. She was excited to meet my friends and show off her cooking skills. Really wanted to make a good impression as the hostess. Vanessa showed up around noon to start decorating. She seemed on edge from the moment she walked in. Kept rearranging things Mom had already set up and making comments about the food placement. Mom just smiled and went along with whatever Vanessa wanted. I was running around getting drinks organized and making sure the music system worked. Vanessa pulled me aside at one point and said she needed to talk to me privately after the party. Something important about our future together. I figured it was wedding planning stuff and said sure we'd discuss whatever she wanted. Guests started arriving around 6. Everyone loved the house and kept complimenting the food and setup. Mom was in her element, chatting with people and making sure everyone had drinks. She wore this nice blue dress and did her hair special for the occasion. Really wanted to make a good impression. The party was going great for the first couple hours. People were mixing and mingling. My work friends were getting along with Vanessa's crew, and everyone seemed to be having fun. Mom was telling embarrassing stories about my childhood, which had everyone cracking up. Around 8:30, Vanessa had a few too many glasses of wine. She gets chatty when she drinks and was holding court with her college friends near the kitchen island. I was across the room talking to my uncle about work stuff, but could hear bits of their conversation. At first, it was just normal girl talk about wedding planning and honeymoon ideas. But then one of her friends asked about living arrangements after we got married. Whether Mom would still be staying with us, or if she'd found her own place yet. That's when Vanessa's filter completely disappeared. She laughed and said something that made my blood run cold. Something that changed everything between us forever. Oh God, no, she won't still be here. I can't wait until we're married so I can finally kick his mother out. She's so annoying. Her voice carried across the room and conversations started stopping as people turned to look. Several guests had heard what she said and were staring at Vanessa in shock. She was giggling and gesturing with her wine glass like she'd just told the funniest joke in the world. My mom was standing right there behind Vanessa, holding a tray of appetizers. Her face went white, and I watched her hands start shaking. She'd spent all day cooking and cleaning and hosting these people, and this is how my fiancé talked about her. I couldn't breathe for a second. The woman I was planning to marry had just publicly humiliated my mother in our own home. In front of friends, family, co-workers, everyone who mattered to us. Called her annoying and announced plans to kick her out like she was some unwelcome house guest. Everyone who'd heard was staring, waiting to see how I'd react. Word was spreading quickly through the party as people whispered to each other about what Vanessa had said. Vanessa finally noticed the growing silence and started looking around confused. When she saw Mom's face behind her, the color drained from her cheeks. She realized she'd said something terrible, but it was way too late to take it back. I walked over to where she was standing, looked her directly in the eyes, and said 2 words: "Get out." Vanessa started stammering about how she didn't mean it that way and was just joking around, that she'd had too much to drink and didn't mean anything by it. But I wasn't interested in hearing excuses. "Get your purse and get out of my house, right now." She looked around the room hoping someone would defend her or tell me I was overreacting. But everyone who'd heard her comment about kicking out my elderly mother, who'd been nothing but kind to her, was staring in shock. Nobody was taking her side on this one. "You can't be serious," she said. "It's our housewarming party. These are our guests. It's my house and my party, and you just disrespected my mother in front of everyone. You have 5 minutes to leave before I call the police for trespassing." The room was still dead silent, watching this drama unfold. Mom had set down her tray and was heading toward her bedroom to escape the situation. I could see tears in her eyes, and it broke my heart that she had to hear those words. Vanessa tried a different approach, started crying and begging me not to ruin our relationship over a stupid comment. Said she was drunk and stressed about wedding planning and didn't mean to hurt anyone's feelings. That we could talk this through privately after everyone left. But I was done. She'd shown everyone exactly what she thought of my mother and our living situation. There was no walking back from that kind of public humiliation, especially when Mom had done nothing wrong. I said, "Get out. Don't make me ask again." That's when Vanessa finally realized I was serious. She grabbed her purse from the kitchen counter and headed for the door. Turned back one more time to see if I'd changed my mind, but my expression made it clear this wasn't a negotiation. As she reached the front door, she looked at all the guests watching her leave. "This is insane. He's choosing his mother over his fiancée. What kind of man does that?" My uncle stepped forward and answered her. "The kind of man you should want to marry. Too bad you're not smart enough to see it." Vanessa left without another word. I heard her car start in the driveway and pull away into the night. The 40 guests stood in my living room processing what they'd witnessed. Word had spread quickly about her comment, and everyone understood why I'd kicked out the woman I was supposed to marry. Mom came back out of her room and immediately started apologizing. said she didn't want to cause problems between us, and maybe she should start looking harder for her own place. I stopped her right there and told her she wasn't going anywhere. This is your home as long as you want it to be. Anyone who has a problem with that can leave too. The party continued, but the energy was completely different. People were supportive and kept telling me I'd done the right thing. My work buddies said they'd lost respect for Vanessa after hearing what she said. Vanessa's own friends seemed embarrassed by her behavior. Around midnight, everyone started heading home. They thanked Mom for the amazing food and told her how much they enjoyed meeting her. Several people made sure to mention what a great hostess she'd been and how lucky I was to have such a wonderful mother. After everyone left, Mom and I sat at the kitchen table talking until 3 in the morning. She apologized again for causing drama, but I shut that down immediately. Told her Vanessa had shown her true colors, and I was grateful to find out before the wedding. Mom asked if I was okay ending an engagement over her living situation. I explained that it wasn't about the living situation, it was about respect. That anyone who would publicly humiliate my mother wasn't someone I could trust as a life partner. The next morning, my phone was full of texts from Vanessa. Long messages about how sorry she was and how the alcohol had made her say things she didn't mean. That she loved me and wanted to work through this together. That one mistake shouldn't end our entire relationship. I didn't respond to any of them. Later that day, her father called asking if we could talk like adults about what happened. Said Vanessa was devastated and willing to apologize to my mother if that would help fix things. I told him there was nothing to fix because the engagement was over. Her mother showed up at my house that evening. Tried to explain that Vanessa had been stressed about wedding planning and didn't handle alcohol well. That she'd raised her daughter better than what I saw at the party and hoped I'd give her another chance. I appreciated her coming over, but told her the same thing I'd told everyone else. Vanessa had revealed how she really felt about my mother and our family dynamic. That level of disrespect wasn't something I could overlook or forget. Over the next few days, mutual friends reached out trying to play peacemaker. They said Vanessa was staying at her parents' house crying constantly and begging for them to convince me to take her back, that she'd learned her lesson and would never say anything like that again. But it wasn't about whether she'd say it again. It was about the fact that she'd thought it in the first place. That she'd been planning to kick out my mother once we were married and had just been hiding those intentions until she felt secure enough to act on them. A week later, I got a letter from Vanessa. 3 pages of apologies and promises to do better. She said she'd been jealous of my close relationship with Mom and felt like she was competing for my attention. That the comment at the party was a moment of weakness that didn't reflect her true feelings. I threw the letter away without finishing it. Actions have consequences, and her actions at the housewarming party had consequences she couldn't undo with apologies or explanations. Mom found an apartment she loves in a senior community about 20 minutes away. Turns out she'd been on a waiting list there for months, and a spot opened up right after the party. Moving in next month, but not because of pressure from anyone. She's excited about the amenities and activities they offer, plus having neighbors her own age to socialize with. I helped her put down a deposit and will help with the move when the time comes. She'll come over for dinner twice a week and has an open invitation for holidays and special occasions. The arrangement works for both of us and gives her independence while keeping us close. Friends ask if I regret ending things so dramatically at the party, but I don't see what choice I had. Vanessa chose to humiliate my mother in front of 40 people. The least I could do was defend her in front of those same 40 people. Some people think I overreacted to a drunk comment. But drunk words are sober thoughts, and Vanessa had revealed her true intentions about my mother's living situation. Better to find out before the wedding than after, when it would be harder to extract myself. The house feels peaceful now. Mom and I are back to our routine of cooking together and watching old movies. No tension or walking on eggshells around someone who resents her presence. Just comfortable family time in our own home. I've started dating again and been upfront about my relationship with Mom. Any woman who has a problem with me caring about my elderly mother isn't someone I want to build a life with. The right person will understand that family loyalty isn't negotiable. Vanessa texts occasionally asking if we can meet for coffee to discuss things properly. I've blocked her number because there's nothing left to discuss. She made her feelings clear at the party, and I made my response clear when I kicked her out. The engagement ring went back to the jeweler within their 30-day return window. Lost about 15% restocking fee, but considered it a small price to pay for avoiding a marriage to someone who would disrespect my mother. Much cheaper than a divorce would have been down the road. Wedding vendors were understanding about the cancellation given the circumstances. Most offered to apply deposits toward future events if I ever needed their services again. The venue coordinator said she'd seen worse implosions, but this one was definitely memorable. Mom jokes that she saved me from a terrible marriage by being herself at the party. Says Vanessa would have shown her true colors eventually, and better that it happened before legal papers were signed. She's probably right about that. The housewarming party accomplished its goal of bringing everyone together to see the new place, just not in the way we originally planned. Instead of celebrating a new chapter, it became the dramatic end of an old one. Sometimes people reveal who they really are when they think they're safe to drop their mask. Vanessa felt secure enough in our relationship to mock my mother publicly. That security cost her everything when I chose family over someone who didn't respect my family. No regrets about the decision. Mom raised me to value loyalty and respect, and I wasn't going to abandon those principles for someone who didn't share them. The right woman will appreciate those values instead of trying to compete with them. Life lesson learned the hard way, but learned nonetheless. Pay attention to how people treat your family, especially when they think you're not watching. Their true character shows in those unguarded moments. The house is still here, Mom is still here, and I'm still grateful for both. Vanessa woke up single at her parents' house because she chose to disrespect the woman who raised me. Fair trade, in my opinion. Update. Got a call from Vanessa's brother last night asking if I'd reconsider for the sake of their family's reputation. Told him his sister's reputation was her own responsibility, not mine. Some bridges burn completely, and this is one of them. Mom's moving date is set for next Friday. She's excited about her new place, but promises to come back and help host my next party, assuming I ever trust anyone enough to get that serious again. For now, it's just us, and that's perfectly fine.